Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Amanda Stonerock, the founder of Stonerock Business Solutions. Based in Billings, Montana, Amanda founded SBS in 2021 to empower small businesses and nonprofits through grant writing, strategic planning, and funding solutions. With a background in political science and public relations, she's led her team to raise over $131 million with an 82% success rate, earning a Silver Stevie Award in 2024 and recent media recognition as a trailblazer. We'll be exploring her founding story, how SBS helps clients secure funding, and her vision for scaling this impactful venture. So let's dive right in. Amanda, welcome to Founders Future.
Awesome. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. A pleasure to have you on. I'm so excited to dig in a little bit more for our listeners. So on that front, let's start at the very beginning. What specific problem, Amanda, in the funding landscape really inspired you to start Stonerock Business Solutions?
Yeah, thanks. So honestly, COVID.
Yep.
I've been working in fund development since 2014. I was working as a project manager for a nonprofit in the criminal justice space. So I had a lot of nonprofit experience, and when COVID hit, funding became an opportunity for everyone. And I was out the gate applying for different types of funding. And everybody came to me knowing, hey, you've written grants. Will you do stuff for us? So I was doing a lot of it volunteer on the side, just trying to help people access and understand the process. And it hit me, I should probably be doing this as a business. And I moonlighted doing this on the side for a while. And then I went into my employer and said, I think I'm going to go all in. And I gave 101 day notice for my position as a way to help them try to replace me. And at that point, the CEO came to me and said, how about we just keep you on as a contractor? That is really what created Stonerock Business Solutions.
I love it. I love it. So with that being said, how has Stonerock Business Solutions offer evolved since you first started from what you're providing? I know you have some grant writing, the free courses there, and who you're serving. How's that changed over time?
Yeah, a lot, honestly. And I feel like pivoting is key. Any founder, entrepreneur pivot is imperative, and we're always trying to anticipate the changes. AI popped up a couple of years ago, and that had to be a pivot point. Myself and my team jumped on the bandwagon right away. We actually created a platform called the SBS Navigator as a way for people who want to utilize AI, maybe don't want to pay for consulting rates, maybe just need time savers. So we've adapted and created a whole separate software for people in that space. We also moved away from just doing just grant writing and more into the RFP procurement space. So small businesses who are looking to get in and procure government contracts or who are doing work in other places that would typically be like a state funded program, but they're looking for private businesses to take that on. So we help them secure those contracts locally, state, and nationwide.
Amazing on that front, because I'm not very familiar with the grant writing industry. So give us a little bit of insight of some misconceptions that you often hear about the grant writing industry, especially around its value to small businesses or its complexity as a whole. What's something there that you can address for us?
Yeah, I think honestly, people look at grants as a nonprofit function, that you have to have a nonprofit. And you can partner with nonprofits. So a lot of people are trying to decide as a small business, do I open a nonprofit arm? Do I create, instead of being just a traditional LLC, do I just go the nonprofit route? And I'm always encouraging people to consider working with fiscal sponsors. So if there is a grant funded program that is only for nonprofits, there are nonprofits out there that you can partner with to apply for that funding. And so please don't create a nonprofit just to go after funding. Work with existing nonprofits for fiscal sponsors. And then also double check the eligibility because small businesses are eligible for a lot of these private contracts. They call them RFPs, they call them lots of different things. It's a grant, it's all funded, horse by another name. So don't count yourself out just if you're not a nonprofit, is what I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So on that same front, we'd definitely love to get into the nuts and bolts of Stonerock Business Solutions for
Sure.
our listeners here could end up being some clients of yours as well. So love to really get into the nitty gritty of how you're generating revenue today. So what exactly is the core offer? I know you have the grant writing there.
Yep.
How is everything structured for your clients? What can they expect to see when they come to you?
So I have three different levels of service. We have the DIY, where if you want to do it yourself, you can take a course. We've got free courses or free resources where if you're a learner and you just want to know how to do it yourself, we have all the materials and access for you to be able to do it yourself. And then also using that AI tool to help you with that process and increase your chances of getting funded. So those are the DIY components. We have a DWI, so we do it with you, where you want to learn, but maybe you don't have the skill set to be able to get there. So we work alongside you. So if you are applying, we provide that quality assurance. Here's recommendations on how to do this better. Have you considered what this means in the process and really help them mature their product so that they can just take it and go with it? And then we have the DIY or excuse me, DFY, do it
Mhm.
for you, where essentially a lot of this is fractional based services where large organizations maybe lost their director of development or they're in a transition phase. And so we come in and we do everything that comes with development. And that's not just grant writing, it's not just basic fundraising, but it's strategic planning. And we require those DFY clients to go through a strategic process because the grant success rate is really low. But in my professional opinion, it's low because people throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And my success rate is an 82% and climbing because we target specific things. We work through the back end process before we ever apply for funding because that is the secret sauce to having success with that.
Absolutely love it. And it's so intriguing again, especially someone like myself that isn't versed in this space. Incredible how you're really approaching it and seeing so much success. So, what are you seeing, Amanda, as far as the acquisition side of things go? What's working best for you, whether that be referrals and word of mouth from your success stories so far, or social media, organic outreach, ads? What are you doing on that front that's working best?
Yeah, I think that's changed over time. So initially, people came to me because they knew that I did it, and word of mouth has been really strategic for us, people knowing that we're open for business.
Mm.
What's changed in probably the last 18 months is the utilization of doing a lot more marketing, email marketing. I never intended and started out to create this large scope thing. I just wanted to create a job for myself that provided some flexibility. But I never really knew that I had that entrepreneur in me
Yeah.
because I had never stepped into it. And so I've spent a lot of time over the last year learning about email marketing strategies, how to go from an email list of 50, I'm up over 5,000 now just since November. So we're doing a lot of strategies to try to increase just our free offerings because I think having those free offerings show that you're not just out for business, but we've noticed that people want to actually pay for things. They don't take it seriously unless they pay. So we're in a process of transitioning from all free and into some low cost solutions for individuals. And I think that we're seeing a lot of traction in that. Having the SBS Navigator tool has been really imperative in order to grow in a consulting sphere. You have to find solutions that are not just the number of hours that you put in. They have to be those passive sources. And that's really where we're focusing our energies.
I absolutely love that. So from the sounds of it, you're doing that cold outreach with email, warm because you have them from your list, and then
Yep.
you're doing a lot of referrals, word of mouth. So nothing with ads right now. So you haven't really explored that side of things yet.
So we started with ads, but honestly, we've done a lot of research on click paid ads and working with some different marketing companies. And I just don't think that's part of how we want to grow organically. I don't want to get too big for our britches, creating a software company in itself or moving into those models where a lot of people are taking the courses. You have to have a really large team. And the thing that we've been really intentional is making sure that we're growing our revenue through alternative models, but also adjusting our price point rather than adjusting the number of people that we're working with because we want to continue to offer really good services.
Absolutely.
And so the pricing is where we're changing rather than I get emails consistently. Let me help you get lead gen. And I'm like, I don't want any more lead gen. We just need to figure out where our main point of the pie is and just continue sustaining that rather than working to grow it.
Love it. I definitely love where your mind's at and really just pushing and focusing on the quality aspect over the
Right.
quantity aspect. It makes sense completely and can really lead to scaling to where you want it to get to, not too
Right.
far there. So as far as the sales process, you just mentioned it, but what does that look like as far as the team aspect? Are you running most of the show on your own? Do you have a sales team, or how does that look overall?
Yeah, I don't have a sales team. I have one full-time assistant. She is actually in the Ukraine, and I was connected with her through a virtual assistant company that was based in Montana. They moved over and relocated in Poland, and they are staffing virtual assistants there. And so I started very small with having just a VA, and I procured her into a full-time staff member who reports to me. And then I do a lot of 1099 when I need to. So in my former life, I ran a $3 million budget with 25 staff, and I'm really, I don't want to say a control freak because that's not the right word, but I want to make sure that our product is really well maintained. And when you have a team, you either need to supervise the team or you need to do the product. And so I have some great consultants that I 1099 with that I pull in when I either don't have the capacity or I don't feel like I have the skill set for it. And that process has worked really well, both for my business and for theirs. And so we've created kind of joint offerings within our businesses where we know we can come together and bid on projects together, but I don't have to supervise them. And that's been really helpful for me. And I think that our growth strategy, again, will be sustaining the services and adjusting our price points appropriately rather than looking to add a whole bunch of team and people that way.
Love it. I love it. And then it's a testament to what you're saying earlier about quality, right? So working with the right people, if you know that maybe this isn't the strong suit, let me find someone that does have that as a strong suit. Just
Right.
incredible how your brain is operating and what you're bringing to the table on this front. So it's truly a pleasure to really be hearing it from your mouth and how everything's operating and the success you're seeing. I'm definitely curious to know, Amanda, is there a specific bottleneck right now to growth that you're seeing? Because I know that you mentioned lead generation is pretty good, or maybe it's around converting those inquiries into clients or delivering with your current
Mhm.
capacity. Is there anything on that front that you can point to?
Yeah, I think fund development in general is a scary time. So, working in the grant space, everybody's really anxious right now politically, what's happening with the federal government and freezes on things. And so, I think it is just the reason why we're able to retain those clients is pivoting into what they need now. Now that maybe grants can't be the main focus, maybe fundraising can't be the main focus. And so I think the bottleneck is just getting people to not stress. Everybody's so anxious, they're afraid. You have a lot of fear what's happening with funding federally, state, locally. So that's probably the bottleneck right now, but I think we've managed that stress really well. And I know it maybe seems counterintuitive as an entrepreneur to not focus necessarily on growth in numbers in our service offering for our current clientele.
It definitely makes sense with how you're coming to market. So, where do you really see as far as top priorities go for growing Stone Rock over the next 6 to 12 months? What are you hyper focused on, whether that be specific revenue targets or impact goals? But what are you locked in on for the next year?
Yeah, I intentionally don't do revenue targets. I'm really big on KPIs for like our email marketing and our retention of people. And so we have a really great click-through rate for our email marketing. We have a really low unsubscribe rate, which I think is really imperative for keeping people engaged. I hate when people email you 14 times a week. And I know there's a lot of marketing that's out there that tells you like you need to be consistent, but I would rather have one email go out a week with really short, specific content and move people into another area, go to the blog or watch this video or do something else rather than be inundated with emails and unsubscribe. So I think our vision for the next 6 to 12 months is taking all of the materials that we have right now and reformatting them into ways that are easier to digest. So we've focused a lot around our YouTube video and our content there. I just learned this week of Google's Notebook LM,
It's
which
incredible.
I don't know if you've heard of
Oh,
this.
I have. It's an amazing tool. Oh,
Amazing tool. So I think we're going to take a lot of the materials we've already created and move them into easier to digest resources. And then once we have that really streamlined, then we can look at doing some marketing ads and stuff to get people to start paying for some of those resources. And I think creating that passive income is going to be key for us.
absolutely, absolutely. I would love to get a little hypothetical with you here, Amanda, because
Sure.
obviously the way that your mind is working is truly fascinating to me, and the focus on quality that you have. So, if you did have the ability to bring a genie into the room, snap your fingers, and provide you with unlimited resources right now, what are you implementing immediately into the business?
I would love to be a competitor for a software company.
Mm,
So our AI grant and RFP writing tool is a culmination of 20 years of my mind and my success rate into a software. But the scale of that is limited when you start talking about tokens and AI and the number of people that you can service. And growing that in the software space would be amazing. Right now, we're not in a position to be a competitive software company, but the product and the people that use our product have a better success rate than anything that's out there. So I think that would be a really great opportunity, but financially, we're just not there to compete with some of those bigger names.
yeah, yeah, it makes sense. But I think with how you're coming to market and where your focus is, there's no reason that's not too far off in reach for you. So I'm definitely
Right.
excited to keep an eye on what you're doing and see you guys achieve that in the very near future. So I would love to ask one more questions before going into the lightning round for our
Yeah,
listeners.
absolutely.
I would love your take on this, and that's how are you personally looking at the grant writing and funding industry and its evolution over the next couple of years, and what exactly are you doing to position yourself at the forefront of that evolution?
Yeah, I think our strategic planning is key. Our approach to sustainable strategy is far and above even those that have been in the industry for a really long time.
Mm,
And the intentionality of working with the client to get them to know grant funding contracts with the government are never guaranteed, even when they're already awarded. And we're seeing that right now. So, what is your approach to implementing your program without that funding? And how do you make that shift from a nonprofit or from a small business to thinking like big business? And so, what would you do if you didn't have this funding? Do you go get a traditional loan? Do you reduce your offerings and only offer this one service really well? And so we do a lot of strategy around that. And I think that is really imperative for us moving forward is continuing to get people to think, oh, I need to think like a business. What would a business do? And not have that reliance on grant funding and contracts.
absolutely makes sense on that front. So with that, would love to just go into a bit of a lightning round here before we wrap up for our listeners. On this side of things, what is a tool or a resource, Amanda, that you're using right now? Maybe it's a grant writing strategy or a business lesson from the past, but what's just been a game changer for SBS this far?
I think I'm just going to reiterate AI has been huge. It is 100% game changer. I've taken a team of 7 contractors and gone down to one because I can use my brain and my mapping and everything that I know into the software and it spits it out as if I'm going from 80 hours down to 15 hours for a project. And so that's been huge offering.
Incredible. Incredible. AI is really on the lips of everybody now, which is
100%.
amazing. Every founder that I'm speaking to on the show is really just a proponent of AI. And you have to, in this day and age, integrate it with how incredible it is now and everything that continues to come out and how the advancements keep happening. I just can't even imagine where we're going to be in 5 years. So it's exciting to say the least. So my next question for you is on the advice side of things. What
Yes.
is the best piece of advice, Amanda, that you've personally received about scaling a business that has you this motivated and passionate like you are?
Yeah, I think that the best advice that I could offer is find the one thing that you're really good at and make that your priority before trying to move into other areas. I think a lot of people get bogged down with trying to make their menu like a cheesecake factory.
Yeah,
Nobody needs a menu like a cheesecake factory. Focus on what you really do well before you start expanding and growing and scaling in there. Because if you're not doing the one thing really well, you're not going to do multiple things really well.
I love it. I love it. And then it did sound like that was more of advice for our listeners, but I am going to ask that as well. Do you have something else you can offer for our listeners, other founders just starting out, other business owners, either in it or just really want to get kicked off and underway and see success like you're seeing and have the passion that you have? What can you offer them before we wrap up today?
I think it would be amazing if you could make a one-page business plan. People get really bogged down into thinking they need to have this huge, elaborate plan, but you need to know who you are, what you're doing, how you're going to do it, and then start to create the KPIs. But you don't need to have a 5-year KPI outlook. You need to know what am I going to do in the next 6 months and focus just on that. And then what am I going to do in the next 12 months after that? And so we don't need to necessarily have these trajectories that are 3 to 5 years any longer because businesses is changing too fast. So focus on what can I do in the next 3 to 6 months and only focus on that and create your KPIs around that.
Incredible. I love it. And with that right there, that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Man, I just want to thank you again. An incredible journey so far. Thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing your insights. Truly enjoyed and opened my eyes up to this grant writing world and this side of things. So I'm super grateful to have you on. To our listeners, if you did enjoy this episode, which I know so many of you have, as did I, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also check out Stonerock Business Solutions at stonerockmt.com for their free grant writing courses, and follow Amanda on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Amanda-Stonerock. For more resources and insights, visit closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.